So you think you know Idaho? I'm willing to bet there's a lot more to this state than you realize. We're going to dive into some surprising history, some truly extreme nature, and a future that is changing fast. Get ready to meet the Idaho you don't know.
Okay, let's just get it out of the way. When I say the word Idaho, what's the very first image that pops into your head? For most people, it's one thing in particular.
Yep, potatoes. And, that's fair. Idaho's potato crop is massive. It's about a third of the entire country's supply. But, and this is a big but, the state is so much more than just its most famous vegetable.
In fact, the story of Idaho starts with something kind of crazy. What if I told you that the state's name, its entire identity, might have been completely made up on the spot?
So yeah, that's where we're going to start, with the mystery of how Idaho got its name. Because this story is definitely not what you'd expect. For decades, this was the story everyone believed. Kids in school learned that Idaho was a Shoshone phrase, a really beautiful, poetic one. Behold, the sun coming down the mountain. It sounds amazing, right? It gives this sense of ancient roots and natural beauty. But the truth is a whole lot weirder.
Turns out, it just wasn't true. The guy who proposed the name, a lobbyist named George M. Willing, eventually confessed he'd just invented it. That beautiful Shoshone story? A total fabrication. The state's name probably comes from a steamship that was, ironically, named after Willing's made-up words started getting popular. Wild.
Okay, so from a made-up name to the land itself, which is just as full of surprises. Once you look past those famous potato fields, you find a state that's all about raw, dramatic, and absolutely massive natural wonders.
For instance, check out Shoshone Falls. We've all heard of Niagara Falls, of course, but this waterfall right in south-central Idaho, it's actually taller. It is just a breathtaking display of raw power.
And the extremes just keep coming. Hell's Canyon. Now, the Grand Canyon gets all the fame, but this gorge, carved out by the Snake River, is the deepest in the entire United States. Seriously, the scale of this place is just mind-blowing.
And then you have this, the Frank Church River of No Return Wilderness Area. At 2.3 million acres, it is the largest single stretch of protected wilderness in the lower 48 states. We're talking about a truly massive and untouched landscape.
And this number really puts it all into perspective. Over 60% of Idaho is public land, managed by federal agencies. Think about that. More than half the state is wide open, wild space that belongs to everyone.
All of that wild land has forged a really unique history. It's a story that saw Idaho go from being this rugged, tough frontier to the surprisingly modern state that it is today.
And it was not an easy journey. After becoming a territory back in 1863, it finally got statehood in 1890. But like a lot of rural states, it was just absolutely crushed by the Great Depression in the 1930s.
And when I say crushed, I mean it. The price for a bushel of potatoes, the state's lifeblood, fell from over $1.50 to just 10 cents. Annual farm income went from almost $700 down to just $250. It was an era of incredible hardship. But out of all that, a totally new Idaho has risen up, one that completely flips the old script. Get this, today, the biggest driver of the state's economy is not agriculture, it's science and technology. In fact, the tech sector is now bigger than agriculture, forestry, and mining combined. And it's not just the economy that's changing either. The people who actually call Idaho home are changing too. It's creating a picture that really doesn't fit those old, easy stereotypes. This right here is the paradox of modern Idaho. On the one hand, it's still one of the least densely populated states, with these huge, empty stretches of wilderness. But on the other hand, its cities, like the capital Boise, are absolutely booming. In just 20 years, the state's population exploded by more than 55%. That made it one of the fastest-growing states in America. This is not some sleepy, static place. It's a state that is transforming at an incredible pace. You can see that change in its culture, too. A lot of people associate Idaho with certain religious groups, but the reality on the ground is way more complex. The largest single group, at 27%, actually identifies as religiously unaffiliated. It's a much more diverse mix of beliefs and backgrounds than you might think.
So, when you put it all together, the made-up name, the extreme landscapes, the high-tech economy, the growing population, what is Idaho really?
Well, its official nickname is the Gem State. And no, not because of potatoes, but because of its incredible abundance of gemstones. And maybe that's the perfect name for it after all. a place full of hidden treasures, way more complex and beautiful than what you just see on the surface.
Idaho is really a state of surprising depths and contradictions. It's a place where the name was just made up, where nature is on a monumental scale, and where the future is being built in tech hubs far from the farm fields that once defined it.
It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? If our idea of an entire state can be so different from the reality, what other hidden gems are just waiting to be discovered in the people and places we think we already know so well?